influencers versus the physician.
We have to deliver information, but yet we're limited in the information we can deliver.
You know, we see this bad skincare advice that continues to show up on social.
Not only is it wrong, but it could be dangerous.
All it takes to have a social media account is an email address. And apparently that's all you need to have a medical degree as well.
All of a sudden people forget who's the expert and who isn't.
Last episode, bringing my A game.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome your hosts of Skinterviews, the expert series, George Scandalis and Nathan Strom.
Final episode. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for watching Skinterviews, the expert series from home. We made it, buddy.
We did.
Episode 11. We are finally at the end of our series. It is sad for us. I'm sure it's sad for you because you're going to want to know more. We thought we'd get a little dressed up today. Just a little.
When you sent me the costume, or
What?
is this a costume or like the design look for today?
I think it's, I wouldn't call it a costume. When you call it a costume, it sounds like we're dressing up for Halloween.
You look like the Phantom of Opera.
And you look like a circus ringleader. What's that guy called that wears the top hat in the circus?
The Greatest Showman.
Well, yeah, there you go. You know what, Nathan? In my books, you are the greatest showman. If I had to do this with anybody else, I would say no. Unless it's James Corbin, Jimmy Kimmel. Who else?
Ellen. Are we allowed to bring her up?
I don't know. But it's funny that we bring up people like that because today's episode and the closing episode of the series is all about influencers versus the physicians. Now, this is a huge, huge topic, and it was a really smart way for us to end the series because we want to know, where are you getting your medical advice from? Yeah. Simple.
Are you using olive oil or are you using medical grade skincare?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, olive oil seems to be working for one celebrity out there who claims they've never had any injectable treatments done. We're not going to name names because I actually think she's quite stunning. And if olive oil did work, I am from Greece, and from the south of Greece and Crete, we bring olive oil in big barrels here. And I would
give me some of that.
Look, it's really good on food. Do not use it on your face, or dermatologists would tell you that. It can be quite occlusive. What we also want to talk about is that the College of Physicians tends to put certain restrictions on what our physicians can and cannot say, and how they communicate with you, and that's huge.
It is, and also in the US, doctors have a little bit more leeway than, say, Canada.
I don't know all the rules inside out, but what I do know is that when you want to learn about our industry, when you want to learn about treatments, you got to go follow our experts and other physicians. And I'll give you a prime example of why. These professionals, these medical professionals, have been in school, some of them 12 to 15 years, to become professionals that actually provide these treatments. Some of the influencers and some of the celebrities that you take advice from, some of them are great. They've done their research. They've learned a thing or two. They've even tried some of the treatments. But then there's other ones that tell you that, for example, you shouldn't use sunscreen except to use it as a natural highlighter for your face. The same celebrities like that sell candles that smell like their private parts. So, where are you getting your information from? Should we change influencers to medfluencers? I like this.
I do like that.
One of our doctors coined that term. And to actually make medfluencers happen, you got to go find our experts on social media, follow them on their Instagram handles, follow them on their Facebook page, really support them. And when you want to know, you ask a medical professional. It doesn't necessarily have to be a doctor. There's great medical estheticians, there's great nurses, there's great educators in our industry. We were educators at once upon a time in our industry. We still are today. But it's those people that have the answers. They've done the studying, they've done the due diligence to learn about the advancements of medical cosmetic science, what's happening in the skin, and they will be able to provide you with the true and honest information you need. If you're gonna follow, some random 18-year-old that basically had a really pretty Instagram and gets paid to post pictures of how they use a specific soap on their face that clears their acne, it may work, it might not work, but why risk it? Message our professionals. Let's hear what they have to say, and we'll be back to close the final episode of our series. I'm gonna miss you.
I'll miss you too, buddy.
Well, let's not miss each other too much. We'll be back in a few minutes. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. See you soon.
So we all know that the information highway is huge. Gone are the days of the yellow pages, flyers, even radio to some extent.
We don't communicate with our patients like we used to anymore, where someone looks you up in the yellow pages or on the internet if you want to be very up to date, and then comes to your office and asks you for advice.
But here, right now, is visual communication, visual advertising, visual marketing. It's everywhere. Now, as physicians in Canada, as a plastic surgeon and cosmetic surgeon, we are limited as to what we can advertise or what we can promote or what we can even say.
There are so many things that physicians are not able to say. They have to adhere to much stricter standards.
So when it comes to media and promotion, as physicians, the rules are not always clear and certainly vary in different countries. Even within Canada, there doesn't seem to be a clear set of standards.
I feel it limits us. I think a lot of these policies are outdated. They should be updated based on where our social evolution is going. And it's unfortunate because ultimately patients are going to suffer from these regulations.
And even when there may not be explicit restrictions in place, I think most doctors are cognizant of not wanting to be overly promotional or appear biased towards only one brand or product. So there's almost a little bit of self-imposed restriction when it comes to content and what we talk about.
I understand where they come from, why these were said is not to promote a certain brand or advertise, but it creates a communication issue. And I think we've reached a time in our society where we kind of are over that and above that, and we should focus on how can we communicate the best possible and safest way to our patients.
In Canada, and I think this is sort of common knowledge, but we cannot do direct-to-consumer advertising. So, for example, when you watch US commercials and whatnot, they can advertise medications, and that's not something that can be done in Canada.
They're very, very strict. What their guidelines, you cannot for sure advertise, product specials that's going to help you in any medical way. We cannot list any type of branding, for example, the common brands that are out there, whether that be breast implant types, Mentor, Natrel, or we can't mention Botox.
Because certain names are household names, like Botox, for example, it's a household name. No one understands really what a neuromodulator is, or a neurotoxin for that matter. It sounds even terrible. I don't want to sound like a science geek. Patient is going to turn off and stop listening. I want to speak to them in their language. That's what communication is about.
We need to be able to say things and educate people using names that people will know. So, because not everybody knows what a neuromodulator is.
Even at conferences and whatnot, I do educate quite commonly, and we do have to stick with generic names, even in our professional discussions, which is also very challenging because imagine listening to someone speak and using this, long-winded jargon for the entire presentation. It's really not the same thing as hearing Botox in a presentation as it is hearing neuromodulator throughout the presentation. If you can imagine that with every single word and every single treatment, it kind of people sometimes lose interest in the discussion.
We can't advertise it. We can't promote it. We're seen as a promoter somehow of this.
It make it very difficult for us to communicate with our audience and online, on social media, and our patients that communicate with us online on social platforms.
It becomes frustrating because it's hard for me. We have to work in a world as cosmetic physicians where we have to deliver information, but yet we're limited in the information we can deliver. So it's a challenge.
It draws out the conversation, so the education becomes longer. It takes a lot more to educate a patient who's coming in with knowledge, again, that has been, let's say, transmitted by someone who really, doesn't have all the right information, because we almost have to backtrack and undo that before we can actually give some of the important information. So I think that's the most challenging part, is it does kind of prolong our consultations. It creates a bit of confusion. So there's already a lot of information given to a patient at a consultation. Evidence shows we remember at best 20% of what is told to us on a good day, and on a not so good day, it's a lot less. So imagine, again, trying to erase that. So they might walk away with maybe some of that erased, but they're then not absorbing all the things that you're trying to educate them about. So it's tough. It definitely, makes the job a little tougher, but that's why we have learned to come up with ways to have the patient take something home with them, to give them information on paper, to show them things in a way that they can sit and absorb and reread. And that way, it kind of gets across a little bit better, but it does present some challenges.
So there are very tight regulations, and they come down very, very hard on you. It's constantly monitored, so we have to be sure that we give information, but we don't give information. It becomes challenging, right? How do you tell someone about Botox but never mention the word, right? It's a challenge, but we work around it. Those are the rules. You got to follow them.
Until recently, we actually could not even use before and afters. So a lot of patients will ask us why we don't have before and afters posted, whether it be on social media, on the website, and so on. And that was actually a very recent change that was made, where we are now newly this year allowed to have before and afters to be able to, again, demonstrate, what we're able to do, because it's one thing to say it and use medical terminology and even sort of plain language, and people don't exactly know what you're talking about in terms of what can be achieved. A picture speaks 1,000 words. So we are now allowed to have before and afters, and that I think is very progressive and very helpful.
If we do an agreement with any kind of company, we can only speak about on-label procedures for that injectable or that device. And we all know in real life that we use a lot of these devices off-label and products. And so we are not able sometimes to frankly speak about what we do.
One thing we're not allowed is actually testimonials. So we cannot have patients speak directly on behalf of, let's say, a certain physician and their care, on the website and sort of, I guess, through our clinic.
If physicians are part of a big organization, that organization may or may not allow them to freely speak or post what they want to on Instagram. They may not even be able to film on premises in a big organization. And so there's a limit to what doctors can do. And yet influencers are free to film anywhere, anytime, and say anything without having the responsibility for this.
And sometimes it gets frustrating because we are the ones that actually should be giving the information on social media.
So here we are in a world where information is key. It's at the touch of a thumb, just bang. You can get any information, pretty much on anything within 2 seconds. So we work in a world where there's a lot of information. And if we look at cosmetic procedures, cosmetic applications, whether that be products or surgery or services, people are inquisitive. They want to know. But I, as a physician, I sit in a seat where I'm regulated by this body, by the college, to not use certain terms or be quite truthful what Botox is. And I have to use terms, the scientific name of neuromodulator or neurotoxin. Half people don't even know.
When it comes to disseminating information on social media, I think a bigger concern is not so much restrictions that may be placed on physicians, but, also the fact that these platforms have made it easier for anyone to become influential, even if they aren't an authority, and some may be sharing some bad information. And if you're just the average person on social media, you can kind of say what you want and potentially even go viral. And then of course, if you're a celebrity, you have this tremendous power as well to influence people on social media.
With one scroll, I go to a 16-year-old who's a very powerful influencer talking about specific brands, could be Botox, talking about procedures, talking about whatever they want. And they have 1.5 million followers. No regulations, no credit. No one even assures what they're telling you is true or validated.
It's funny. In medical school, you learn about the anatomy and the physiology of the body. You don't really spend much time learning about how to become an Instagram star. And unfortunately, nowadays, that's kind of what you have to do. You've got influencers on there that they've been bred to have a huge social media following. And because of that, they can elicit a huge amount of information to a vast amount of people. That's a problem sometimes because these people don't have the training.
We see this bad skincare advice that continues to show up on social, putting toothpaste on your pimples, or even, there are outright dangerous trends like at-home injectable hyaluronic acid pens. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's scary. These are things that are all over TikTok. They're getting traction and people can actually seriously harm themselves.
I have a really difficult time when I hear people who have a lot of reach, a lot of authority, and a very broad reach and influence, especially over younger people, when they say things that could affect somebody's health.
I've become good friends with a dermatologist in the US, Whitney Bowe, and I really like her. And we had a long discussion once. We both wrote a book and we sort of helped, each other's, sort of talking about each other's books. And she says, my messages are always going to be positive. I'm not going to take the negative approach. So when I see things like that, yes, it frustrates me, but I'm going to basically take whatever that misinformation was and do a counter message that is positive and true. I'm not going to necessarily talk about it, but I'm just going to say, what is the evidence that olive oil actually helps with aging? It's actually pretty dismal. In fact, olive oil decreases our skin barrier. It actually damages our skin. So it's not a great moisturizer.
Olive oil has some beneficial actives in it for the skin, but it is very greasy and can block the pores. Anyone who's acne prone is more likely to break out if they apply straight olive oil to their skin. And I have been encouraging my acne prone patients to avoid putting oils directly onto their skin for a long time now because it's comedogenic and it just kind of is making things worse for them.
So you talk about what you do know and you do a positive message on the science, and that's all you can do.
Yeah, so there was actually a recent major uproar in the dermatology community after a well-known celebrity shared her skincare routine and her views that conventional sunscreen contains harsh chemicals and that she only applies just a sprinkling of sunscreen to certain areas of her face, like a highlighter.
Only on the bridge of your nose and only on the top parts of your cheeks.
It makes no sense, and it's absolutely wrong. If you apply sunscreen only to some parts of your face, what you're gonna end up with is streaks and uneven skin tone that's really, really, really hard to fix. So it's not something that you should do.
And this was published, promoted by Vogue magazine, and the video on Instagram currently has over 1 million views. And I'm sure the traffic to their website just went through the roof with this social media sort of publication. So in this instant, you have a celebrity influencer, a major media publication together spreading disinformation that is dangerous since we know sunscreen can actually prevent skin cancer.
And all dermatology is outraged because this is total misinformation. And not only is it wrong, but it could be dangerous because people who apply their sunscreen that way will not be protected against the UV damage that they could get.
Melanoma is one of the highest cancer killers in women 25 to 29 years old. It's not something that happens to older people. It's something that happens to young women in their 20s. And raising that awareness, trying to give information in a way that connects with the end user is the only way we're going to have an impact.
I took 14 years to learn all the information that I need to tell you what I believe about medicine, about aesthetics. And it takes somebody 5 minutes to start in a social media account to be able to disseminate the same type of information. That's scary because often it can be wrong, it can be dangerous. So you really have to go into things with your eyes wide open.
That part frustrates me. If it's just bad advice about using products or don't use products, it's one thing. But when it comes to giving information that is absolutely wrong and harmful, I have a hard time with that.
And so people have to be careful. You have to be cautious. You have to do your due diligence. And I'm not going to ask a physicist about chemistry or about how to fly a plane, okay? So you have to really do your research, do your due diligence to avoid problems that are very difficult to fix sometimes.
And, as medical professionals, I think many of us are really trying to use our social platforms to help people hear from experts on scientific evidence and not just sort of anecdotes and what different celebrities are doing. We want to make sure good science is out there.
Because traditionally, we were the influencers of our field. Patients used to do what we tell them. That's not necessarily the case anymore. I mean, I have patients arguing with me about something that I've studied for 15 years just because they read something online or some influencer came up with posted something that stated the opposite of what I'm telling them.
We see this all the time. All it takes to have a social media account is an email address. And apparently that's all you need to have a medical degree as well.
All of a sudden people forget who is the expert and who isn't.
As far as being scientifically knowledgeable, they're not. And some will respect that physicians know more than them, and some will just skate around that and say whatever it takes to sell a product because they are endorsing products and getting paid to post about different products.
I like that Instagram started an ad because if somebody's just, some young person is following this influencer and they're using something on their face, they know that they're being paid to do that.
What's happening is that because they're beautiful, young, they have great skin, which may be just naturally happening, is that their followers believe them and they follow their advice. It's not always the best advice for the followers, but what happens is the doctors are not out there. Their voice is not heard nearly as much as influencers are. And so we're getting drowned out and the true information is getting lost somewhere because the influencers are generally looking great because they're in their 20s anyway. So you're telling them what to use, or maybe they have clear skin naturally and they're telling you what they use for their skin. But that's not necessarily what's great for someone who truly has a problem with their skin.
The problem is people are confused because they're getting conflicting information online and they don't know how to interpret all that information because they lack context. Our job is to give them that information with the proper context so that they can understand and don't just apply something to them that is not for them. And an influencer or a celebrity, they can't do that. They might be able to speak for what they do, what works for them, but that's not representative of science or what might work for different people.
So a celebrity can go on their Instagram or Facebook, whatever their media platform is, and they can promote and post about what they did. I had a rhinoplasty, I had a whatever. And that then translates into public. It sets trends. I mean, we just have to follow any of the celebrities, right? If they do it, guaranteed in your office the next day you're getting a call about it.
Don't get me wrong, some influencers are great and they actually respect medical information, the studies, and they're actually using their soapbox as a vehicle to really propel our industry.
I think Jennifer Garner is one of the best examples. She's a brand ambassador for companies like Neutrogena, but she also really from her heart of hearts is so authentically and genuinely herself and wants people to understand how to take great care of their skin. And I love that it's a mass drugstore product that she's helping to inform people about. And hopefully that will balance out against some of the other advice. But we rely on influencers. We can't live without them because when you look at celebrities and people who have a skill at reaching a large population, our hope is to be able to work with them, to give them the right information rather than to fight against them and to try to put them down and say, no, just listen to me. If we work together, we'll reach people. And in the end, isn't that our goal, is to help people have healthy skin, live better lifestyles, and be happier?
We have to use the same tools that everybody else uses to influence. We can't sit and say, well, we are the doctor, we have the degree, we have the experience. Well, if we can't influence someone, it doesn't really matter because no one knows or wants to know what we have to say.
Our society is changing. The way patients receive medical information, aesthetic information is constantly evolving. Back in the 2000s, patients would come in with Dr. Google and pages and pages and pages of information. Now they're coming in with Dr. Instagram star, with profiles that they're showing you. So it's really important for us to have a real appreciation for that and to wield our muscles and flex in that same arena so that we can really dominate and control.
We need to bridge the gap between ourselves and our audience. And what's happening is influencers are bending the ear of all of their followers and putting out information that may or may not be scientifically true.
We have to become the influencers we used to be a decade ago and not sit there and complain about why others have more influence than we do.
And so if you're looking to reach an audience that needs this information and would benefit from it, we need to start branching into social media, not just Facebook, not just Instagram, but TikTok. And we have the potential to garner a following, tell them what they need to know about the different conditions that they have, or at least give them correct advice so they don't go down the primrose path with people who have absolutely no training in skin.
It's important to educate the public, the patients. It's really, really important. I'm used to doing it in the clinic. I'm less used to doing it from a social media perspective, but I can see why patients would connect with somebody more when they are being educated in this forum. And I do think that physicians providing education, although it may not be as clear-cut as we would like it to be because of some of the restrictions, I think in general it is helping to move things forward in medicine and helping everyone in the sort of physician community have to speak less about some of these misconceptions that are put forth by others.
Social media has given doctors a platform to reach many more people. And, before, unless you were Dr. Oz or, Dr. Phil, you probably weren't talking to anyone besides your clinic or colleagues or at conferences. But now it is possible to share information with people around the globe. And, it's really clear people are interested. They're interested in skincare on social media. They want to learn more. So hopefully as doctors, we can help bust myths, share good evidence-based recommendations with people, our patients, people out there consuming this information on social media.
So we have to play the game, and I started a couple of years ago.
At first I was kind of, when I published my book, Beyond Soap, and I was told, you should do an Instagram thing, and I was private, and you have to do public. I was like, oh, I don't want to do any of that. It's like anything. You got to embrace it and learn with it. I think it's an incredible way of informing the public, and it is what it is. I mean, you either get with the times or you don't. So this is the reality. This is the new magazine. This is the new commercial. This is how we have to adapt. And as if we want to be leaders in education on skin and cosmetic procedures, then you've got to adapt to this. And I'm trying to look at it as fun.
I'm not the first adopter of most technologies, so I'm not always the first ones on these platforms. I kind of wait to see if they're really going to be around and if they really have value before I start doing it. So I really just joined TikTok, made my 4th one today, and I get better with each one, I hope. But I kind of have fun doing it.
Here's the good news. You can learn anything. Information is on the internet. So that's what I did. I spent hours on YouTube, on internet. I just start consuming on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I just consumed for 6 months. I spent about 50 hours, not 50 hours, 20 hours a week just consuming, just to understand what's going on. I listened to a lot of podcasts. So I educated myself, and then I started getting into it. until I gained more influence. And now I have people from all over the world asking me for my opinion, and I have the ability to help people all over the globe. That's amazing. So I don't want to demonize social media and influencers.
If you're not social media savvy, there are thousands upon thousands of social media coordinators, people that can help you. They can work remotely. You can find them through Fiverr, or you can hire them to be in your office. You can actually even have one of your medical assistants help you with the technical aspects of social media. And as far as speaking to the camera and speaking about your patients, it's up to your comfort level. You don't have to video procedures like I do. You can just show before and afters. You can narrate advice, public service announcements. You can feature your videos of you lecturing. There are so many different ways you can expose the followers to what you're up to, what you're doing to further your field. If you're not comfortable, let me just tell you that maybe 8 years ago, I wasn't that comfortable talking into a camera. And as I keep doing it, I get more and more comfortable. So it is also a learned skill, a comfort level that you can acquire over time. So don't let your shyness keep you from sharing your knowledge.
We kind of have a lot to learn about where the appropriateness is on social media for physicians. I think of us as being professional and as kind of conveying a certain magic of that profession and that time that we spent in school studying. And there should be kind of a separation from our patients in that way, where they look up to us, but still can relate to us. And I think that gets blurred. And maybe that's completely appropriate, and that's something that I need to come to terms with, but I'm not sure. So I think it's a little bit of the wild, wild west, and it will sort itself out. But I think the most important thing on social media, and what I love about my colleagues that I see on social media who are really popular, is that they are authentically themselves. And I think that's probably the most important thing, that it reflects who you are, the kind of practice you have, and what your overall philosophy is. So I'm really proud of my colleagues that I see on social media and the work that they're doing. And I think that they are helping spread the message that being a doctor is cool, being a dermatologist is especially cool, and that we are the go-to experts. And you're reaching a very broad range of people with all the different personalities in medicine that we have out there.
Yeah, I think it is really important that people go and find the information they want directly from, the source, the people who have studied skin and skin science for many years. And so if you're wondering about skincare or, other things in the dermatology or cosmetic space, go to your dermatologist, go to your plastic surgeon, see their social media, find out what they're talking about, rather than some things that might be trending on TikTok or other places.
I'm excited to see the rise of the medfluencer.
Medfluencer. Oh, I like that term. That's good. People can find me on Instagram, Dr. Kunal Jindal. I try to be very real about the information that I'm sharing with patients, and I think that all my colleagues here are doing the exact same thing.
I'm trying to embrace it, and so far it's working. So if you want to follow me on drsandyscottnicki.com, you'll get lots of great information.
Yeah, people feel free to come check me out at Dr. Katie Belesne on Instagram or TikTok.
If you are interested in learning sort of more about the medical evidence behind why we do what we do, you can follow us at Ottawa Derm Center on Instagram, or you can email me directly at askmeanything@ottawadermcenter.com.
It's funny, I'm now communicating with my friends and family through DM on Instagram for some reason. It's taken over just simple text message or WhatsApp. So you can find me on Instagram, you can DM me, I'll personally answer all your requests and questions. It's at Dr. Hamrah, DRHAMRAH, or on TikTok at Real Face Doc, or on Facebook at Nova Surgicare, NOVASURGI Care.
It's Dr. Doris Day. The one today was a little bit boring.
You can follow me on Instagram at Anna Guanche MD, and also at Bella Skin Institute, and then also TikTok at Anna Guanche MD. I'd like to see you there.
We look forward to hearing from you on Instagram over at Dr. Howley. Please reach out. Any questions, concerns, comments, we'd love to hear from you. Being interactive with our clients and patients is what drives us forward and helps you. So you can be online, you can be on TV and see all kinds of programs regarding plastic surgery, cosmetic medicine. Look, they're really entertaining. And some of them are actually pretty factual and true. What I really like about Skinterviews is that we have a panel of experts that are giving you the truth, the grassroots truth in their experiences and what they know about the reality of cosmetic medicine and cosmetic surgery and dermatology.
A show like this, like Skinterviews, this is the kind of thing our industry needs more of. You've got professionals, medical professionals, who know the literature, who are smart, who treat patients every day, who are disseminating that knowledge and educating the public. This is what we need.
It's critical. It's something that was long overdue, and I'm so grateful to be part of this because it just provides us a professional platform with qualified and professional experts in their fields to be able to give us a platform to communicate with the world where people can use us as the resource that we are, and we can give them true value, completely unbiased, based on science and based on our experience. Now, granted, we all have different experiences. There's different ways to skin the cat, but our job is to really educate the public and our patients all over the world about what we can do, what can be done, what's safe, what's a myth, and what's real. That's what everybody's looking for.
Yeah, I think Skinterviews, it's a really important program because it allows us as physicians, experts to communicate the importance of different topics. You know, we are all passionate about what we do. We are excited to share the research, the science, the evidence behind what we can achieve with the different treatments we do. We all want, you know, what's best for our patients, what's best for everyone out there in terms of looking your best, feeling your best. And so it's really great to be able to communicate that to everyone through Skinterviews.
It's the new way. It's the new way of getting information out. I'm trying to embrace it, and I'm happy to be part of this series. I think podcasts are another way. I'm going to start a podcast soon. It's called If Your Skin Could Talk, hosted by Dr. Scott Nicky, and I have to thank George and Nathan for the title. Kudos for that.
I think being involved in shows like Skinterviews and The Gist and having my radio show, which I have on Sirius XM, having ways of reaching a large number of people as opposed to one-on-one in my office, which is also incredibly fulfilling and important. But having that other impact on a larger scale is very meaningful because the ripple effect of that, of somebody learning something new about how to treat a scar or how to understand the aging process or the importance of looking in the mirror with kind eyes and seeing the beauty in yourself, all of those things affect everybody around you. And I think that's the legacy of being a physician, right? Of being a healer is having that impact. Not that someone should remember your name or exactly what you said, but it's the effect that you have on them and what they do about it and the life that they live beyond that is really the legacy and the important work that we do as physicians and healers.
It's important for us to find platforms where we can share reliable information, and that's why Skinterviews is something that we can promote to our followers and to share this information from board-certified dermatologists and board-certified plastic surgeons who have accurate information to tell our audience. So don't forget to follow Skinterviews.
Programs like Skinterviews and others, I mean, I've seen more of them. I think they're fantastic. I do think we need more of them. And that is really why, you know, I've chosen to participate in this and why I've chosen to be a part of social media. And that's because I do think patients need to be educated properly and by experts. And so I do hope that these types of series continue to be distributed massively and, you know, we'll say overtake or become more relevant because this really is where the evidence comes from as opposed to, let's say, an influencer perspective, which I think has a role but in a very different context.
I think this is a fantastic vehicle. I think it's hopefully going to be highly entertaining, super informative, and I really look forward to your feedback and I really look forward to the next season.
Looking very much forward to season 4.
There's so much more to talk about, actually. I don't know where to begin, but I could probably come up with another, 11 topics. This is 11th episode. So yeah, easily 11 topics.
I'd like you to tackle ingredients and maybe skincare, like, because you've done all this sort of surgical, non-surgical stuff, like tackle like what makes a good moisturizer and maybe get some chemists in there and maybe having a maybe two-way dialogue or three-way dialogue and have people like a chemist and a dermatologist sort of battering it out, like why did you add this or would you add that, or maybe have companies involved and extend it more towards the minutia, because you've looked at big topics, so look at like maybe ingredients.
I would love for following seasons in the same context of what we did this season, but with real stories, patient stories, okay, with cases where real people that had a problem, that had conflicting information or maybe had prior treatments that didn't work, and share their stories where how we have been able to help them overcome all those things and to give them more self-esteem, self-confidence, and most importantly, trust to doctors as opposed to trusting internet or a celebrity or influencer more than a doctor that actually spent his entire or her entire life devoting to the science.
Yeah, okay, first of all, I'm gonna change my outfit more because my black scrubs and everyone else in their cool outfits, a little bit jealous. But yeah, I mean, there's so many topics that I think we could expand on. It's almost like we should do a poll of everyone. Like, what do you want to hear from us about? We are experts on so many different things and we're excited to talk about them. So I think maybe we should get some feedback from our viewers, find out what they want us to talk about and share it.
Welcome back. And it's a sad time.
I don't know how I feel about this closing, Nathan. This one's going to be a hard one for me.
Well, let's thank our live studio tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you to all our live audiences that came to all of our tapings. We adore you. Most importantly, thank you to everyone across North America, even Europe, because we've had some of those. We've even had some viewership in Australia and New Zealand. Thank you for supporting our boy here. Thank you for watching from home. Thank you for visiting Skinterviews.world. The biggest thank you also goes to our experts who did all this and gave you the answers you were looking for. So let's name them off and thank them one at a time. You ready?
Well, let's start with Dr. McIsaac.
Dr. McIsaac, big round of applause for her. She's from Ottawa Germ Center. Let's thank Dr. Daria Hamra. Thank you, Dr. Daria Hamra from Nova Surgicare. Who do you got next?
We have got Dr. Sandy Scott-Nicky.
Dr. Sandy Scott-Nicky from Toronto. We've also got Dr. Jindal from Toronto. Let's give him a big round of applause. Make sure to follow him on Instagram.
We can't forget Dr. Brent Howley from Moncton.
All the way in the East Coast. Big round of applause for Brent Howley. What a stud muffin that guy is. And let's go to the West Coast and thank our other Canadian doctor, Dr. Katie Belesne. Big round of applause for her as well. That's right. Now, let's go south of the Canadian border to the U.S. and thank from New York City, my fave, Dr. Doris Day. Big round of applause for her. And then let's go back to the West Coast and thank
Dr. Anna Guanche.
Dr. Anna Guanche. Body. That's actually one of the things we got most about. Thank you so much to our team of experts. Thank you to our viewers. Thank you to all our supporters, because there's been a lot of people behind the scenes that make shows like this happen today. We couldn't have done it without you. And we want you to stay in touch with us. Go to Instagram, follow us at skin.terviews, and go to our Facebook and LinkedIn page, Skinterviews by Nathan and George. If you want us to come to a city near you and focus an interview possibly on a new treatment you're providing, on a new laser, on a new skincare product, on something innovative you're doing, and you want the world to know about you, we do Skinterviews on location, and we're welcoming to come to you. Where else do they find everything regarding Skinterviews?
Skinterviews.world, baby.
We're taking over, buddy. What are we gonna do now?
Well, we're gonna make another series.
Can I just wear this to some of our business meetings? Like, is it totally inappropriate for me to do that?
You can.
I can, right?
Let's say goodbye and thank you.
Bye, everybody.
From the bottom of our heart, thank you so much. We will see you soon on a TV screen, a computer screen, an iPad, an iPhone, near you.
Absolutely. Is there anything else they can watch us on? Have we thought about it? Like, let's really invade every single. We should talk about this. So we've done North America. I think now we got to go South America. We got to go Europe. Where else we got to go?